When creating a new customer web form in JobTread, you'll navigate from your main navigation to your settings, up into your web form tab, and then you'll have the ability to create your own web form by clicking plus form here. So we'll do that here together. First, you're going to want to give your web form a name, and then you'll have the ability of toggling this create a new job option, which will, in tandem with creating your new customer, also add a job to that customer. So you'll be able to make that decision whether or not you want that to be true or not when they fill out this web form. And then you'll be able to come down just below that and make some decisions about what information you'd like to include on your web form and how you'd like for it to be formatted. For instance, if you wanted this name field to say, "What's your name?" you could do that, or you could just leave it at name. You could give it a description, and then if you look over on the hosted preview to your right, you'll see the changes reflected. So you could say something like first or last. Okay. And then if you wanted to change something like your address from maybe their personal address to the property address that they're asking you to consider, you could change that to property address. And then if you wanted to give some clarification, you could say, "Where is the job located?" Okay. So you've got some flexibility here. If you're curious about where any of this information will live in JobTread, you'll be able to see the mapping just below each one of these fields. So no matter what you do here to change any one of these fields, it will map to the location section within your customer and into that address field within JobTread. All right, so let's go down here and maybe let's say something like under files and photos, please include no less than 3. Which might be really helpful. And then you have the ability to make this a mandatory bit of information by clicking here and turning that asterisk red. I will encourage you though that as many fields as you require, that might be a deterrent for someone filling out this web form. So only make required information that you really need in order to start that sales process with your customer. All right, now you have some other available fields that you can add to this web form by scrolling down and adding some of your custom fields. So I'll show you a few that I really like to add. I like to add this lead source. I like to bring in this needs custom field and then this notes custom field. Okay. And then you can click and drag any one of these fields of information and make this web form organized in the way that you'd like for it to be organized. So I'm actually going to take this files and photos. I like to stick this at the bottom. So you'll see drag to reorder, that double-sided arrow. I'm going to take this down beneath notes. And then maybe I'll make one more change. I'll take lead source just above property address. Okay. So we've got our customer information here. We've got the lead source, which we might change to something like a, "How did you hear about us?" Okay, rather than a lead source, because that might not mean anything to them. Okay. So we've got the customer information. We've got how they came in contact with us. We've got the location of the job. And then we've got what needs do they have on that specific address and any notes that they might give us, as well as some pictures of the property. So I kind of like that flow. You might also include something like their personal address up here if you are going to differentiate the property address. But those are going to be decisions that you'll get to make. Okay. Now we're going to scroll down to the bottom. And just beneath all of those other fields of information, you can add assignees to this form, which means as soon as it has been submitted after it's been filled out, it will notify any of the people that you bring into this assignee. So let's put in all of our salespeople who can then fight it out over each person that's been added through this web form. Okay. And then we've got all of our salespeople there. So they'll be notified as soon as this web form is filled out. And then we have the ability of giving a success message. As soon as the customer clicks submit, it will give them the success message. So what might be really helpful is to give them next steps or to let them know what the next step of the process is and thank them for filling it out. So we'll kind of combine those two ideas by saying, "Thank you for that information. One of our team members will be getting back to you in 24 hours. Okay. And then once they click OK on that success message, you can utilize this success URL to send them to a unique website of your choosing. So we'll do jobtread.com, but you could do something really creative if you'd like. Let's say you created a landing page on your website with a unique video that you've created walking your customer through next steps of that sales process or even the next steps of your design process. And that could really elevate the customer experience after they have submitted this web form. So make some decisions about how you want to utilize that success URL. And when you're ready to, we're going to click create and finalize that web form. And then you have the ability to copy a hosted link for this web form. And we'll go up here and I'll actually show you when I enter this into a browser, this is what it's going to look like. Or you could copy this hosted link and then you could generate your own QR code online, and maybe then you put it on a business card, and every time you meet a potential customer, they could have your business card and they could scan that web form directly off of that business card utilizing that hosted link that's been generated as a QR code. So you can get really creative with how you utilize that hosted link. You could actually send it in emails if you wanted to for any prospective customers. And then you can copy the embed code and actually put it on your website so that this web form could be hosted on your website. And once you do, it will take on the CSS properties of your website. And then you can kind of change and adjust all the fonts or the colors within this web form. And your webmaster can even make some changes to it as well if they wanted to, and just how it looks. And so you'll have some choices to make there as well. If you have any more questions about creating new web forms for your new customers, contact your customer success manager, or you can reach out to us for support at JobTread.com.